If there has been something that's been very obvious over the past few years is that anime has become truly something more bigger than it has ever been. I think back of how anime was portrayed many years ago compared to now, it's night and day. What was once a genre that was frowned upon by many people, now it's a genre that many people can enjoy and there's no problem with it whatsoever. And that's all thanks to the many stories that have been adapted. Not to mention there's always new stories being made on a daily basis, whether it's manga, light novels, web novels, you name it, there's always going to be new stories being made until the end of time. And if you have watched anime for quite a while, you would know that almost every year there's always new seasonal animes every time we're in a new season, and almost every year, depending on how many good series there are in that year, there's always discussion as to what is considered to be the anime of the year for that specific year. And every time there's always these kinds of conversations, it becomes very difficult to really pinpoint as to what anime deserves that title known as anime of the year. And that's where anime awards come in. Now, if I'm being honest, these kinds of awards don't really matter most of the time, because at the end of the day, everyone is always going to have a different opinion as to what really is considered anime of the year, and oftentimes people have valid reasons as to why different series belong in this category. Now, even though I don't really care about anime awards, it's still very always interesting to see what's nominated and who ends up winning that specific category. And not too long ago, Crunchyroll did their annual anime awards for the year 2025. And when I say this got a lot of people talking, I wasn't surprised to find out why that is, because Crunchyroll decided to award Solo Leveling as anime of the year, which, no surprise, got a lot of people confused but also shocked as well as to why Solo Leveling won when the nominees for the anime of the year category, some of those series were much more better and could be understandable as to why they won anime of the year than Solo Leveling, since in this category it has series like Freedom Beyond Journey's End, Apothecary Diaries, Delicious in Dungeon, Kaiju Number 8, Dawn the Dawn, and all of these series were very unique in their own way, and they managed to take the anime community by storm because many people instantly fell in love with these stories because of what it had to offer, only for all of this to not really matter because a series like Solo Leveling, in which, let's be honest, as someone who has watched both seasons 1 and 2, when it comes to the story of Solo Leveling, there's not that really much of a strong story compared to the other series that I have mentioned. That's because Solo Leveling as a whole belongs in a category of those series that didn't become popular because of its great story. They became popular because of the hype moments and all the flashy fights that it had to offer. And it's because of this whole situation of Solo Leveling being awarded anime of the year, it got me really thinking about the difference between storytelling and hype, because while both of these strategies are used to get people's attention and to get an audience, the way they approach it are two very completely different things. When it comes to storytelling, it uses narratives, themes, creating great characters that will lead to us seeing their character development or their character growth along the way. And when it comes to hype, it mainly focuses on excitement and enthusiasm, and it wants people to be looking forward to what happens next, and it gives you a clear idea as to what you should expect in the near future. Both of these strategies are not a bad way to get a story some attention, but could also be used as a way to really stand out. However, the difference being is that this all can really affect the long run of that said series. When it comes to Solo Leveling, I remember I was hyped, as well as many others, when we saw that Jinwoo, someone who was a very weak protagonist and was looked down upon by many people because he was not considered strong, becomes OP, and the next thing you know, every fight that he's in, he's always the one to be on top. He's always the winner, and the fights in itself show that no matter how powerful the enemy is, Jinwoo is able to overcome it. You get these really crazy good looking moments in which we see Jinwoo flying all over the place, and we see so many attacks being thrown, so many things happening all at once, that all you can think in this moment is that, damn, this is pretty cool. And that's something that we should always look forward to when it comes to Jinwoo and having a new enemy right in front of him. You know that there's going to be a cool looking fight. You know that Jinwoo is going to go out. And while all that is great, this is where the huge issue begins, because now you are expecting to always have this kind of sequence of events always happening. You're expecting cool looking fights. You're expecting Jinwoo to never lose. You're expecting Jinwoo to be a badass and have these badass moments, and how so many people call it nowadays to have aura. So it's because you're waiting for these cool moments that you really do forget about the story. Not that there was any story to begin with Solo Leveling, because while yes, we come to find out that Jinwoo's mom is in a coma in a hospital, and now that he has these overpowered abilities, he's doing these side quests in order to get a treatment that can be the cure to getting his mother to wake up. And while it does show that Solo Leveling does have a story and an overall end goal, this doesn't mean that it's going to be something that you're going to entirely focus on, because while it may be in the back of your mind, all you really care about is just Jinwoo having these awesome fights. And even though this is a story plot that Solo Leveling does have at the beginning, it doesn't really get heavily focused on, in which some episodes it does focus on Jinwoo getting this treatment for his mother, but other times it's just Jinwoo fighting monsters or fighting people that are not great people who severely underestimate Jinwoo, only for them to find out that Jinwoo doesn't play games when he's being serious. Once again, building the image that Jinwoo is this badass and there's nothing that's going to faze him. And when they do go back to the storyline of him trying to get his mother to wake up from her coma, and they have this beautiful moment between mother and son, seeing Jinwoo be so happy and tears of joy that his mother finally woke up and they could be together as a family once again, all of a sudden this moment that was supposed to be seen as a very emotional and beautiful moment and character development for Jinwoo is looked down upon by some of the people who were watching Solo Leveling. And I'm not kidding, because believe it or not, there were some people who were not happy with this scene, because some people viewed Jinwoo as somebody not vulnerable and somebody that's not going to show his emotional side, all simply because all they really have seen so far is just Jinwoo dominating his enemies and seeing Jinwoo be an unstoppable force once again because of no story or lack thereof. So when Jinwoo does have a moment where it's supposed to be seen as character progression, for some people they viewed it as character assassination, or it completely ruined Jinwoo's badass image, and that's a great shame. But that's what happens when you center your story all around hype, because you don't have a moment where Jinwoo is struggling a fight, because we don't see Jinwoo have character arcs. All we're just simply left to just expect is just simply a show that has beautiful animation, beautiful lighting, beautiful action sequences, and that's about it, making the story secondary and the cool moments a priority compared to the other animes that are in this nomination. And it's clear that the stories are a huge factor as to why they are so popular, why they are so beloved. We see Frieren in Frieren's Beyond Journey's End. We see her have this journey of, while there is some cool fights with her and she too is also a badass, that's not what the entire story is of Frieren. It's a story of an elf having these journeys, whether they're big and small, and we see her seeing what really is the true meaning of life, what it does mean to live your life, and why no matter how big or small the moment is, we should really appreciate everything that life has to offer. And why we shouldn't take any relationships that we have with people for granted, because you never know when it will be over. Just like with Frieren, she had to witness people that, even though she didn't tend to show it all the time, she was really close with and they meant everything to her, pass away, because that's just the circle of life. And when she forms new relationships and when she meets new people, this is not only just a new experience for her, but also it makes her enjoy every minute of it, because of the many times she has to see people come and go. She has learned to appreciate everything and everyone, making that the huge center of the story. And when you look at Apothecary Diaries, in that series there's barely any action or cool fighting moments. That's because the story isn't centered on that. It's all about our main female protagonist, Mao Mao, living in a time period where it was very hard to be a female, just because of how hard it was for females in this time period to be able to have a great life, all just because of how they were treated or how they were viewed upon, since in those time periods women and men were not treated as equals. Showing us that while the world will never truly be perfect, let's not forget that there were some even worse time periods than now, where some people were not treated the same as others, all because of their gender, with some being forced to live a lifestyle that they didn't choose to live. And then you have stories like Delicious in Dungeon, in which at first it looks all innocent and it looks all family friendly, seeing our main group of adventurers going to this dungeon, but also at the same time being able to make these delicious foods with the creatures in the dungeon, making you comfortable. Is this what the anime is all about? Only for them to do a 180 and show us even more darker sides of this dungeon and show us that this dungeon isn't for the weak, and you truly don't know what's about to happen in this dungeon and what the mysteries are of this dungeon, as this dungeon becomes a very unpredictable place that you not only want to know more of, but you're now interested as to what's going to happen with our characters the deeper they explore this dungeon. With Dawn the Dawn, even though it's already popular because of its manga, once it got an anime adaptation, it became even more popular, and it showed people why this story was so much more than just seeing Okaru and Momo be in a wacky world full of aliens and spirits and having to fight them off with their new powers. While that's all cool and fun to see, it isn't just once again all action, as it does have a story of seeing Momo and Okaru have this really close relationship and seeing it blossom, not to mention how really tragic some of these quote-unquote monsters are, because while they look terrifying and they look evil, some of them have had tragic pasts that really makes us understand what made them become the things that they are now. And that as a whole creates some of the best episodes that are not only now more memorable but have now become iconic, and that's because of the beautiful storytelling of Dawn the Dawn, making this the huge difference between storytelling and hype, because with great storytelling it lasts forever. With hype, while it is great for the moment, it very quickly starts to fade away, and that's exactly how I felt with Solo Leveling. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed both seasons 1 and 2, but I noticed very quickly that the story wasn't really that important to the series, because what really was the main focus was really, in a nutshell, seeing overpowered character do overpowered things. And when it tried to have character moments and character arcs, well, it just fell flat because that's not what people wanted to see. And also another reason is also because Solo Leveling doesn't really have a great cast of characters. Most of the characters don't really have their own moments because it mostly centers around Jinwoo. When certain characters are in danger or it seems that death is inevitable, at the very last minute Jinwoo shows up to take the enemies down. And next thing you know, all you see is these characters be surprised and shocked at just how powerful Jinwoo is. And while that once again causes another hype moment, it doesn't really necessarily elevate the characters. It doesn't really make us really want to care for these characters, because what we are now expecting is that if any of these characters are in danger, we just know at the very last minute Jinwoo is going to come and save the day, making Jinwoo the center of attention, because it's understandable since he's a protagonist. But this does hurt the other characters because it just makes people not really care for the other characters in the world of Solo Leveling, because all you really care about is Jinwoo. And that's not the case with the other series that I mentioned earlier. The side characters sometimes are just as important as the protagonist. Sure, it's great to highlight the protagonist and it's great to make them be the spotlight of the story, but it's also important to have a good cast of side characters, because those side characters can elevate the protagonist and can make the story just so much more interesting. And I think this is the biggest reason as to why many people were disappointed to see that Solo Leveling won Anime of the Year in Crunchyroll's Anime Awards. Fans of Frieren, Apothecary Diaries, Dawn the Dawn, etc. didn't want these specific series to win Anime of the Year to feel superior or to feel validated. They wanted any other series other than Solo Leveling to win, so that the creator of that said series could feel validated, to show them that people care about storytelling rather than just a series with a bunch of hype moments, to show the anime industry but also entertainment industry as a whole that people want interesting storytelling. They want interesting stories with unique characters, unique premises, because when you do all that, you not only create a series that's going to be people's favorites or a series that people will want to keep looking forward to when new content arrives, but it also sends a precedent that viewers and readers don't want lazy storytelling. They don't want a story that either has no story or is just cutting corners just to create a story with just action moments and that's about it. Can you imagine if Marvel won the Oscars every year for Best Movie of the Year? That would be ridiculous. It will make just Hollywood think that all people really care about is just action and that's it, not the stories that have creativity, that have passion, that clearly are trying to send a message. Which is why, because Solo Leveling won this award, it makes me really think that unfortunately there are some people out there that just simply want simple stories. They don't want complexity, they don't want world building, they don't want characters having character development. All they really really want is just a simple story that they could easily turn their brain off, not focus on the little details or the hidden messages or complexity. Just a story that we have seen time and time again, especially in the isekai genre, because I guess people just really love seeing OP characters and nothing else, which is disappointing. But hopefully this is not the new direction that people take when it comes to creating stories. I really do hope that we still get those beautiful stories like Frieren, like Apothecary Diaries, like Dawn the Dawn, like Delicious and Dungeon, etc. Because these series are not only modern classics, but they should also be used as a case study as to how to create a great story. And with that, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.